Welcome. Glad to see you again. We're going to do a special episode of In the Kitchen with Padre today. We have a special guest, Michelle Rivero. Michelle, come on in. Michelle is one of these incredible people that is very gifted in the kitchen. There's nothing that she has made that I haven't really thoroughly enjoyed. And some of her recipes I've stolen and made my own. Her recipe on brisket is like to die for. It's amazing. But one of the things that Michelle does that I look forward to every year, she makes a Christmas cookie. So I've invited her today to show us how she makes her Christmas cookie, but we're definitely going to have you back to do a savory thing. And the one thing about Michelle, she's almost as bossy as I am. So I'm going to step out and let you go.
Thank you. Yes, we don't talk
about wait, I forgot. Because you're in the kitchen with Padre.
So today we're going to be making a cream cheese cutout cookie, which is relatively simple. A key thing you have to remember is that you cannot do this at the last minute because the dough needs to refrigerate for at least 4 hours, and I really recommend doing it overnight. So you can't be like, oh, I'm going to throw these cookies together. You have to plan in advance. So let's go over our ingredients. We have flour, 3.5 cups of flour, and here it's a little bit more because I need flour also when you're rolling out the dough. So, but 3.5 cups go in the dough, 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 cup of butter. And again, I'm going to strongly recommend you always use real butter and not try and substitute with margarine when you're doing baking.
And that's room temperature butter.
And this is at room temperature.
Unsalted.
No, it actually is salted.
Oh, really?
It doesn't matter. You can use, and there's no salt, extra added salt, so it really doesn't matter. Right. And this is an 8-ounce block of cream cheese, again at room temperature. 1 egg at room temperature. And then we have vanilla and almond extract, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then we have our baking powder, which you're going to use 1 teaspoon of that. Okay, so.
Your baking powder causes the leavening, it causes the cookie to rise, so it's a higher cookie.
Correct, and it's actually surprising when I was looking at the recipe again, I thought that it would have more than 1 teaspoon, but it's only 1 teaspoon that it has. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our kind of fats. We're gonna put in our butter and our cream cheese, and we're going to mix this together using a mixer.
So you're gonna cream that down completely so it's fully incorporated, the cream cheese and the butter, before she adds the sugar to this.
Correct.
So that's what it's supposed to look like. That's all pretty much, but we want to take it and scrape the sides down too. See, I'm taking over. I'm too bossy.
You are taking over.
Well, you know, what can you do? I am who I am.
Yeah.
You're going to watch the difference, what happens to the butter and the cream cheese. It's going to get even lighter.
All right, so while this is mixing, you want it to get to look nice and creamy and smooth like it is now. And while that is mixing, you're gonna get your 1 teaspoon of baking powder and add it to your flour, 3.5 cups of flour, remember. And then you're just gonna kind of whisk it together and incorporate that baking powder into the flour mixture. And that way it's all nice and evenly combined when you go to add it to your creamed mixture. All right, so we can turn this off, and now we're gonna add our 1 egg to the creamed mixture. And now we're gonna get to the discussion about the extracts. So we have here vanilla extract and almond extract. So extract, sorry, not abstract. And so when we go to add these, the recipe calls for both, but often when I'm making the cookies, I'm making them for people who have nut allergies, or I'm taking the school or to kids. And so you've actually never had them the way the recipe is intended, which is with the almond extract. And so it's really up to you how you prefer to make them. If you want to make sure that they're safe for anyone who might potentially have a nut allergy, then I encourage you just to use 2 teaspoons of the vanilla extract. But the flavor is really, really, really good when you use the almond. So what do you want to do for this
Almond.
one? You want to try the almond. Okay, so if you could look at the recipe real quick, just to remind me, because I almost never use the almond. Is it 1.5 of almond and 1/2 of vanilla, or?
1/2 teaspoon.
1.5 of the almond?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and add an almond. That's the one. And then it's 1/2 of the vanilla, I believe. And here is our 1/2.
Have you ever tried this?
No, I have not.
Take a whiff of this.
That's like a
Really?
toffee butternut that I my coffee that I like. That smells
It's
yummy.
a great product. It's got butternut flavor.
All right, so now we've added our extracts. And so we'll go ahead and let this blend together. Again, you want to just be blending it so that you don't see the egg, so it's all nice and incorporated together. You may have to scrape the edge of your mixing bowl. You definitely want to scrape. Do
Boy,
you smell
can
that?
really smell that almond.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it's just so good.
I didn't know almond extract was something. That to set off a a nut allergy?
Yes, if
Really?
someone has a nut allergy. So like I said, I'm normally making, when I make these cookies at Christmas time, I usually make like 5 to 7 batches. And this is just one of the cookies I'm making. And there is one family that I give to that has a nut allergy. So I have to make sure that I do everything safe.
Yeah.
So, all right. So do you see, you can't really see the extracts, you can't really see the egg anymore. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our flour mixture.
Now, are you going to put it all at once, or are you going to put it in stages?
I'm gonna add it a little bit at a time as it's mixing. So you put your mixer on like a very low,
Otherwise, you're going to have a flour
Right.
storm.
and so you just put it in very low, and then you kind of just a little bit at a time. Kind of let that kind of do its job and mix it all up before you throw the next batch in. You kind of just let that mix all until it's mixed nice and well. And even if the edges aren't incorporated in, you can just stop and then incorporate them in with your spatula.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait.
But you don't want to overmix it because it'll make the cookie tough.
Correct. So we're gonna, you can see how it's formed a dough.
Here, let me just do this with my hands.
It's not, it's pretty soft,
It's a little sticky.
but sticky. And so, but you can smell it. It smells heavenly.
Yes.
All right, so this will go and be wrapped, or for instance, when I'm making my Christmas cookies, because I'm making so many of them, I just get a big Tupperware bowl and I make one batch at a time, and I fill that Tupperware bowl with like 5 to 7
Really?
batches. And then I refrigerate it overnight, and then the next day, or I'll work the cookies. And
How many hours do you think you take to make your cookies?
to make all my cookies, it's a whole week worth, because I start with making bread, and then I have this cookie, and then I have like 4 or 5 other cookies. But these by far take the longest, because I'm usually up all night decorating them.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I would not want to hear. I'll trade you. That's what I would not want to do. I'm not good at those details.
Well, you know, quite honestly, I have, my cookies are not the prettiest. I will be the first to admit that. I see people and they make these gorgeous cookies. I don't really have the patience for that. Plus, I don't really care for the taste of fondant. No. I like just a buttercream frosting. So I will admit that mine are not going to be the prettiest on the block. But I do like the way they taste. Like I said, again, it's a personal preference.
I can vouch for
fondant.
the taste. The taste is good.
All right, so this is the dough that I made last night, refrigerated overnight, took it out. You don't want to, again, take it out right before you're going to work it, because especially in my refrigerator, because normally I have it in my basement refrigerator, which gets super cold, then it's going to be like a block that you're not going to be able to do anything with. So what you want to do is wait until you want to take it out about an hour or so before you're going to work it. And then you can see that the dough, which was so soft beforehand, it's now a lot firmer. And so you're going to take out some of the dough and put it on a floured mat or board or just straight on your counter, whatever you prefer. A mat is neater. So now you're gonna take some dough and you're gonna put it on your floured mat. I kind of like to form it into like a little shape, beforehand. Just makes it easier to roll out. And the trick here for these cookies is that you really do not want to roll them too thin. Because if you get them too thin, then they're gonna get crispy in the oven. And then the trick to these is that you wanna have them nicely browned on the top, but still soft.
So it's slightly underdone?
Slightly underdone, yeah. So you really wanna kind of get it about 1/4 of an inch thick. Again, I rarely measure, I just kind of eyeball it. But anytime other people have tried making these, and when they describe how they don't taste the same, I say, well, how did you roll them out? Did you roll them out too thin? And they're like, well, yeah, they were too crispy. That's what I didn't like about them. And so it's really just a matter of rolling it slightly. This dough is soft enough. It's not like you're rolling out noodle dough, so you don't need a lot of effort going into rolling out the dough.
And if you're challenged like I am, there are these kind of rolling pins that set it up so you can measure how thick. So it won't ever get.
If there was a gadget, I knew you would have it.
I have it.
Between you and my mom, I swear you guys are like the gadget king and queen. But you see that this is a fairly thick dough right here. Mm-hmm. So I don't really want to get it.
It really rolled out nicely too.
Yeah, I don't really want to get it much thinner than that. And then you could just use your cutters, and you can do these any type of year. You don't have to do them at Christmas time. But when I'll tell you a trick, what I do at Christmas time, since I'm making so many cookies, I go ahead and make an extra batch of this dough because this cookie freezes perfectly. Oh. Yeah, so, and then my daughter plays volleyball, and I normally I want to bake cookies for a tournament they have in February. So I go ahead and make a batch of like hearts. And then little volleyballs that I decorate for the girls, but I just freeze the cookie without icing it, and then I take them out and ice them right before the tournament. So
you're so clever. She's clever.
Well, it helps. We also have a big freezer. Yeah. So you just want to use, and you can just cut out whatever. Do we have our cookie sheets?
Sure. Do you want parchment on
them? You can. Otherwise, you don't have to. They don't stick. So you really don't need the parchment. You can just put them down on the cookie sheet. I try and fit as many on as possible.
They hold their shape then?
Yes, they hold their shape very well. They get a little puffy, and I'm more efficient in how I try and use that dough. But you can see, look at how thick that cookie is. Mm-hmm. It's really important that it is as thick as that.
And from the eating perspective, it's going to puff up a little bit. It's a really nice crumb in your mouth. It's soft and chewy.
And again, like I said, you can do these any time of year. Use whatever kind of cookie cutter that you like. And you just cut them out. You put them. Normally I do all one shape at a time. Unless I need to use space that's not gonna fit. So we've almost got this tray done, and so we can get that in the oven fairly shortly. And like I said, now this recipe, what does it say it makes? It says it makes a lot more than it makes. And I think that this is if you're making, if you roll them out thinner, you're gonna get more cookies, but they're not gonna taste as good. The other thing is that you will, if you use a smaller cookie cutter. I mean, these are not huge, but they're not super small either. Mm-hmm. So just know that whenever you use this recipe, that I think that you're most likely going to get about 2 to 3 dozen, and that's it out of one batch.
Those are pretty substantial sized cookies.
Right.
I tend to make very small cookies because, again, for me, if it's a big cookie, I'll tend not to want to eat it because it's too much sugar.
Right.
But if it's a smaller cookie, I'll eat it. So this is a lot of cookies. Okay, guys, I'm going to show the... So put that there, and then I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes or 12.
Go ahead and set it for 9 because it's 8 to 10 minutes, and that way, because we don't know what the oven's going to do. need a spatula.
Spatula.
Smell good.
Do you have
Spatula?
yeah, the thing to perfect. So I just want to kind of try and gently lift this. It's still very soft, but can you see the bottom? Is it nice and brown?
It's toasted.
Yeah. Let me flip it over. So you see, this is it's nice and browned. On the top, it's not going to be browned, but you don't really want to let it cook anymore because then it's going to get too hard.
Right.
So because it's such a thick cookie, it is done. You're going to leave it sit on the tray for about 2 minutes, and then you'll transfer it from the tray onto a rack to cool. And then once it's cool, then you can begin decorating.
So the cookies have baked, so we're back now, and Michelle's going to show you how to make her buttercream frosting and show you how to decorate the cookies. And I'm going to be no good at this, so I'm just going to let you take over.
Okay. All right. So basically, to make a buttercream frosting, I honestly just use Betty Crocker's recipe, which is about 1/3 a cup of butter to 3 cups of powdered sugar to 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then you add as much kind of milk as you want to make it the consistency that you want your icing to be. So that's the basic recipe, but I'm just gonna put in 1/2 cup of butter, and then I put in about 4 cups of the powdered sugar. And so the first thing that you do is you put your butter in, and you're gonna put in your extract. Now, again, because we decided to make these with the almond, I'm not gonna do just vanilla. I'm gonna put a little bit of the almond in as well, so that we can have that flavor consistency throughout the cookie, so that they complement each other. So I'm doing 1/2 teaspoon of almond and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And quite honestly, I usually don't measure. I normally just pour. But we're just gonna measure for it.
There are some folks who can only cook or especially bake if they do exactly what the recipe calls for. And there are other folks like us that, I mean, you do it enough times to get a sense of how much.
Exactly. Again, this butter was at room temperature. It was not just taken straight out of the refrigerator. That's why you want to just make sure you take it out an hour or so before you're going to be doing your baking, and then you'll get it to the consistency, the temperature that you need, so that it maintains the consistency you need. So again, we're creaming this. You can see that the butter is nice and creamy. It's making peaks whenever you beat it. And so we are now going to start adding the powdered sugar. And again, you don't add it all at once. You're gonna add a little bit at a time, incorporate it, and then you'll add your milk a little bit at a time. For the cookies, it's not like a cake. I make this a little bit more of a thin consistency. It's not a glaze, but it's kind of somewhere between a glaze and an icing.
Do you brush it on, or do you?
I don't brush it on. I kind of spoon it, or I really just use like a butter knife or like a small icing spatula. And I've tried the brushing, and I didn't really like how that worked. So sometimes if you add your milk, then it will kind of stop it from flying everywhere.
Yeah, and the other thing you could do is you can like stir it in before you start blending it. She had an accident.
Once you get it, the powdered sugar incorporated, you do want to maybe increase the temperature, the speed of your mixer. And you can use a stand mixer for this as well. What you can see is though that even the oven
Is uneven.
So you have one and these two. So I mean, everyone's oven is going to do things like that. So you might need to check a couple of them.
You just have to know your oven.
Exactly.
Yeah. Watch your head.
Have a concussion. All right, so we have these out and they'll cool. And then once they cool, what I have a tendency to do is to stack them by shape because I decorate one shape at a time. That way you're not, you know, it's just more efficient that way. All right, so we can come back to our icing. Now, I did,
Do this here before you.
I did, like I said, a half a cup and then to 4 cups of the powdered sugar. And that's gonna be more than enough for the number of cookies that we have. I think I normally will do like maybe 1.5 batches of, I'll do 3 to 4 batches of the icing whenever I'm to ice 5 to 7 batches of cookies. Now you can see how much softer this is. Like this is almost too soft for a cake. It's not gonna have enough substance.
Now, do you color that or you leave that?
I will color it. So we'll depend on, we'll probably only do like maybe 1 type of cookie because just so that we only have to deal with 1 color. But again, you can do it however you see fit.
What color do you want?
Why don't we do the stockings? Because I think that will, the stockings, because we don't have to worry about brown for that. So we can just do red and white for the stockings. All right, so now I'm gonna really increase the speed on the mixer because all of the powdered sugar has been incorporated and we just really wanna mix this.
Add more milk?
And I'm gonna add a lot more milk because this is not the consistency yet that I want it to be.
Okay. Just big enough?
Yeah.
So basically, that's just a buttercream that you would put on a cake, but she's making it thinner.
Correct, with milk. Okay, so you don't want to get it too thin because you're also adding your food color, which is going to thin it down some more. So this is the nice consistency. You can see it's a little bit, I'm going to say pearlized, it almost looks like. So as you drop the spatula, as you can see how it's
kind of lumped.
It kind of falls off like that very easily. And so then you're going to go ahead and put some in your bowl. And I always you can always add more. But once you color it, it's really hard to do anything else with it.
Right.
I mean, sometimes I can use my red and mix another color to make my brown for the stems. But normally, once you have the color in it, it's done. So you just want to start small. With the amount, and a little bit actually goes a long way when it's thinned like this. And so with the red, you're just going to put a couple of drops in, and again, you can always add more. Let's get another. Let's just get a spin.
There's smaller ones in there too. What?
I tried to duck over and get on this side so I could see better. You got my head.
So you just mix in your food color, and then you'll get a nice pretty red. And I mean, I just use the little drops, but you can get the Wilton ones or whatever. But I just find that this is the easiest thing to do, and it works. So it's a nice pretty red. It's not gonna, I find that you really can't get that deep red unless you add so much.
And then it gets on everything.
Right, and then it also impacts the taste. Yeah. So,
now is this a gel or was it a?
No, it's a liquid.
Okay.
It's a liquid. So it's just, this is a Wilton. Actually, it's a gel.
I thought it was a gel.
Yeah, normally these are my liquid ones, so. Okay.
I prefer using gels. So we're back now. The frosting's been made, and Michelle's going to demonstrate decorating, and then we get to eat.
And you can see how easy this goes on.
Oh, yeah.
And I just kind of gently move it around. You don't need to get it too thick. And that's why I say a little bit goes a long way.
And I think too thick, it makes it too sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then it won't harden enough.
Right.
And then, they'll stick together when you're trying to. So I'm gonna just do 2 with the red, and then we'll do the white cap on the stocking. I don't know, I just think these are like some of the prettiest ones. These are always one of my favorites, the stocking. And I think also because they're easier to do. So then we'll just take a little bit of the white. And you just go over the top. I may do the top a little bit thicker because it's, it's normally thicker on your stocking.
Well, it gives dimension to the...
Right, exactly.
Now, do you want some sparkles on those?
I do. I will put some sparkles.
Did you bring sparkles?
I did. They're right here, Father.
Okay. When guests come into the kitchen, they never think that I have everything they could possibly want, so they bring everything with them, which is prudent because normally you would not go to somebody's house and cook.
Exactly.
Red food color.
I don't think I have red food color, but I had brown. I had brown, but I didn't have
Where the
red.
red went. It was Deacon Paul, remember? In his homily when he did a miracle with milk, it turned red.
No, it wasn't mine.
Yes.
You took it all, huh? All right. So that's going to smooth out. And then you're just going to take your normally what I'll do is you want to put the sugar on fairly soon after icing them. So I'll maybe like ice 5 or 6 and then I'll sprinkle.
Right.
5 and 6 and then I sprinkle.
Otherwise it's too dry.
Right, because you want it to stick in there and it's still gonna, there's still a lot that's gonna come out. So what I do is, that's why I do a tablecloth, because I can just pick up the tablecloth and then I take it out and then I shake the tablecloth out in the backyard and the dog goes out and licks all the sugar off of the off of the grass.
That dog.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
She is a kind of German Shepherd mix, and so she's very much of a mutt. But she's been very adventuresome. Besides eating Christmas cookies, she has taken a full pizza, homemade pizza, off the counter. In fact, my son even made a video of it.
He made a video while she was doing it?
I had told him to take a shower and to make sure that Lucy didn't eat the pizza. And so he went to take the shower, and of course that's when the dog got the pizza. And so in his video was, see, this is why I shouldn't have to shower.
But that's another thing about you that I find very interesting. She is like this phenomenal cook, but her family basically just likes pizza.
Well, Mariana has gotten a little bit more
Mariana's
adventuresome in her food and what she'll eat.
You guys want to get a close-up of this, how pretty this is?
And then, like I said, you need to let it sit several hours because that icing is very soft, but it will firm up.
But we're not going to.
Or you can just try it right there. What do you think with the almond versus the vanilla?
Yeah, very, very good. Guys. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Michelle, for these wonderful cookies. And I said earlier, you will come back, right?
Definitely.
To do savory foods, because she's amazing at that. So again, if you like this video, please share it with other people. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook. You're in the Kitchen with Padre, and thank you.